Okay, you guys ready? We're going to talk about the eye, the evil eye specifically, in the Bible. It's an exciting topic. Okay, so first of all, you should know the eye was a major thing in ancient cultures. So the eye is presented biblically, though, as the seat of will. We're going to find that out. The eye showed itself throughout humanity as an omen for both good blessing and evil cursing. It all depended on the nature of the eye. So you have, for instance, maybe you've seen the Illuminati pyramid with the eye on it. You have the eye of Horus or Ra. But the Bible then carries this idea with it, the presentation of the eye or sight, as a major theme throughout Scriptures. So Genesis 1:31, we find God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. So I should stop right there. You see the word saw. One thing when you're tracing themes is that you have to understand sometimes they don't just develop the words. You're not going to see the word 100 times. Sometimes you got to be looking a little abstractly and critically for the theme. And the idea of eye and saw obviously is put together. And so God saw that he made it was good. It's not the first time it's said. It's actually repeated 7 times throughout the first couple pages of the Bible. And so obviously this is an important point. The narrative is like, hey, God is the definer of good. And that's the point you should be getting out of the first couple pages of John, that God's the definer of good. But interestingly, when we get to Genesis 3, the story changes a little. So we find the serpent said to the woman, "Surely you will not die, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened." Right? You'll be able to see, and you will be like divine beings who know good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree produced fruit, that it was good for food, was attractive to the eye, and desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. The eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. And so what was their decision based on? Obviously, God was the definer of good, but now in this story, humans have become the definer of good based on their sight. So maybe you've heard, we walk by faith and not by sight. I think that comes probably from this passage, or the repeated theme. And so their sight, we read, it was attractive to the eye, to Eve, attractive to the eye, and then repeated, it was desirable for making one wise. And so their sight is very parallel to what they wanted. They see it and they want it, and so they take it. And so the eye is very much connected with desire in the Bible, or a will. They decided what was right and wrong. Okay, and so we see this repeated throughout the Bible. It gets a little more specific as we read. Proverbs carries this main theme. Proverbs 23:6, "Do not eat the bread of the evil eye." There you have it. So do not eat the bread of the evil eye. What's the evil eye? We have the idea of having someone with a bad will. Don't eat the bread of someone who has a bad will. Well, what exactly is their bad will? Proverbs 28:22 fills us in a little bit. The man with the evil eye hastens after wealth. They're running after wealth. They're greedy, right? They're selfish. They want it for themselves. And that's the story of Genesis 3. They wanted it for themselves. It was desirable for themselves. They ignored God. So the evil eye is really someone who's like, I see that, I want it, I take it, right? Or Proverbs 10:10, that's a really neat one. The one who bites with his eye, bring us back to eating fruit in Genesis, the one who bites with his eyes causes trouble. So just the association between the eyes and the mouth is that if you see it and you want it, boom, you're basically biting with your eyes. So you get the picture that eyes is greediness. It's kind of much like it's the heart today, that almost put your whole will and your purpose and what your plans are in your eyes. But I think the Bible actually goes a little bit further than just saying it's greediness. So it's more than just symbolism. It's really presented culturally as if there's powers behind the look. So the Bible wants us to know that it's more than just, oh, they're greedy. That's a very important, powerful thing. Simply by looking at someone, you can bless them or curse a person, and in the way that you look or the way that your desires happen. And so Numbers 23 is a perfect example of this. Balak said to him, we're looking at Balak hiring Balaam basically to curse the Israelites, which obviously won't happen. But what he wants him to do, let's read. He says to him, "Please come with me to another place from which you can observe them. You will see only part of them, but you will not see all of them. Curse them for me from there." When Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not go as at the other times to seek for omens. but he set his face toward the wilderness. When Balaam lifted his eyes, he saw Israel camped tribe by tribe. The Spirit of God came upon him. Then he uttered this oracle, the oracle of Balaam, son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eyes are open. And so he's hired just to look out. Interesting, we have the term death stare today, that in your stare you can desire to kill someone. And that's kind of what's happening here. But there's some, I don't want to say mystical, but power behind this cursing. And so another thing, interestingly, Balaam has his eyes opened. What does that mean? He's seeing the consequences of what, I guess he's seeing the reality of the situation when God revealed himself to him. So much like our modern day saying, we're living life with our eyes wide open. Balaam, like Adam and Eve, is fully aware now of the possible dangers. And so Adam and Eve, that were naked and aware, now in Balaam is said with the ones with the wide open. Now, obviously, this isn't always such a great thing originally, because it's in contrast to innocence, where you're not really aware of the dangers. And what this tends to produce, it's a good thing in general, but what it tends to produce is fear or shame. So, again, as exhibited in Genesis 3. And maybe to connect this a little bit better, if you're into the Lord of the Rings, the Eye of Sauron. So the Eye of Ra is the sun god, and of course we have the Eye of Sauron now looking out, and if he looks on you, you're cursed, basically. Anyway, this kind of follows itself into the New Testament. You'll read in Galatians 3. Actually, well, we should start in Deuteronomy 27:28, because you have the blessings and the cursings, cursing specifically on the ones with the evil eye. And the ones with the evil eye, it's interesting. Here we read Deuteronomy 28:53-57. You will then eat your own offspring. This is a curse. The flesh of the sons and the daughters the Lord your God has given you, because of the severity of the siege by which your enemies will constrict you. Or Lamentations 4:10. The hands of the tender-hearted woman cooked their own children, who became their food when my people were destroyed. That's crazy. So now the Bible develops fruit as fruit of the womb, so children. And now you have the evil eye being cast on the children by mothers. So the mothers have the desirous eye for their own children as their fruit. And that's how the story goes on. And so into the New Testament, Paul picks up on this. So Galatians 3, if you want to read it, it's neat. It's sometimes hard to pick up on, but he uses some words that are only used in Deuteronomy to make his point in Galatians. And his point is the Judaizers are coming in with the law and trying to, it says bewitch them and like cast a spell over them, some type of, with their evil eye. And so the way he's presenting it is he's like, if you guys follow them, you're putting yourself under the curse of the law, and you are going to end up with death, being eaten, and you're acting like children if you do that. And so his warning is, again, echoing the Deuteronomical curses. There we go. So that's really neat. It should be noted that Jesus is like the curse stopper. But let's look one more time. I want to just reinforce, what is the eye exactly? What does it represent? Matthew 6 in the Gospels is where it's really developed by Jesus. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is diseased, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? So ignore modern scientific ideas that eyes enter your light, which are true, but their world view was the eyes provide light. So like Daniel 10:6, his body, this spiritual being being talked about, his body resembled yellow jasper, and his face had an appearance like lightning. His eyes were like blazing torches. And so just like Matthew, where the eye is the lamp of the body, a lamp isn't something that lets light in, it's the source. And so where your will is, your desire to live out a certain way, it's inside you. It's your desires inside that need to be changed, not the outside, not what you let in. And so that's what Jesus says. It's not what comes in that defiles you, but what comes out of you. And so it's the eye that needs to be transformed. This is repeated in Luke 11:34-36 if you want to look it up. But the idea is you need light. You need to be you need a light shined on you. But this shows us the problem of humans, that it's inside. Their eyes are closed, and Paul develops this as being asleep. So, got a bug flying on it. So, yeah, I think what we can understand, if we need light because the eye, we need it transformed, then we can understand when it says that Jesus, as light and eyes, are very much interconnected. We'll do a theme video on light, though. Jesus is the light of the world, and he comes, and you have all these stories about healing blindness. He's coming with his light, which is the cross. He's revealing the attributes, who God is. That light comes to heal our blindness and our evil eye, which is just dark, and it's our desire to do wrong. But Jesus came to heal it, and specifically, it's the light that shined is God saw us. He saw us in our wickedness, but he decided not to put a curse on us. He refused to, just like he refused to curse Israel. Instead, he put the curse on his son, and that's the light for us. If you're interested, some cool verses about the evil eye, Job 40:11 through 12, or 16:9. Some verses about a good eye. In contrast, evil eye is being selfish. A good eye would be generous. And Psalm 25:18 through 20 says this. Proverbs 22:9. You can look it up. Maybe a warning from Paul to end it. Galatians 5:15. However, if you continually bite and devour one another, beware that you are not consumed by one another. The evil eye is really a warning, I think, more than anything. You don't want an evil eye. You want an eye that is full of light, and Jesus offers this. So hopefully this introduced you to something you've never heard before, or maybe you have, but it can help us understand the Bible. Oh, actually, one more thing, because this passage has always confused me, and I've tried to apply it to my life. It says, if your eye causes you to sin, cut it out. What is that saying? And people get tied up into like, oh, do we cut the eye out? No, obviously not. But what is it then saying? I think with this understanding of the eye, it is saying that your will is what needs to be changed. Take drastic measures to have your will, what your desires are, transformed. And obviously we know that is through reading scripture and prayer and fasting and all the spiritual disciplines. Anyway, cool. Thanks for seeing this, using your eyes to watch this video.